Promise you're not locked in here. Hi, my name is Carrie Clemmy. I'm the marketing strategist at Gogebic Community College, and we are very thankful to be here as part of the Leadership Academy. First of all, because this is our last assignment, so we're super psyched about that. But we really worked hard on these presentations and just the topics that we wanted to bring to you today. So thank you for joining us. So without further ado, our group, we are going to be talking about bridging the gap, improving dual enrollment partnerships to ease the college transition. So we will introduce ourselves as we come up, but this is just a list of us and where we are from. And we also actually would like to thank Holly Diamond, our advisor for this year. She's the VP of Student Affairs at Henry College, but Henry Ford College, excuse me. She's really done a great job keeping us on track and making sure we get our work done. So thanks, Holly. It's been great. So just a quick overview of our agenda. We're going to start out talking about our focus and problem statement. And as we talk through our agenda, we're also going to relate it back to our own community colleges. So we're going to then talk about benefits to stakeholders, our goals, managing change and potential challenges, and recommendations, followed by question and answer. So if you guys, we're going to ask for just a little bit of participation, and you don't have to be nervous, but if you could just get out your cell phones, we're going to do a little Slido questionnaire. And the next one, sorry. So be ready. All right, so our problem statement that we came up with is to increase dual enrollment and early middle college participation. Community colleges need to focus on developing stronger relationships with high schools and their stakeholders to ensure our resources are used to the maximum benefits of both sides. So just to kick us off, we always talk about data and how we want to make sure that we use our data in our decision making. This number was really staggering to us. 53% of high school graduates, that's the number of students who are actually enrolling with a college in the state. Only 53%. That's really low. And we know that our enrollments are struggling because of decreased number of high school students. So of course, that's going to translate to a decreased number of enrollment for us as community colleges as well. So, one more time, okay. All right, so if you guys would scan this QR code, it will bring you to a survey question. There's actually 2 questions. Everybody got it? Maybe? All right, so our first question is, what % of enrollment at your school is dual enrollment or early middle college? And, if you don't know, take your best guess. Okay. So it looks like around 20% is what we're looking at. So I know, our colleges are kind of on either side of that, but this has been a big topic of conversation between all schools, within the state. Oh. All right. You ready for this one? Okay. Okay. All right. So what do you believe is your college's biggest challenge with dual enrollment? And now you may have some other challenges in there, but please pick one that you see in front of you. All right, so there's kind of a duel here between the K-12 leadership to get buy-in, and we've all probably experienced some of that. And then dual enrollment students understanding college policies, deadlines, and ways to success. Still kind of going there. So yeah, it's just kind of a battle between the two. All right. Okay. All right, so getting back to it. So I'm from Gogebic Community College. If you don't know where that is, we're on the western end of the UP. So I would argue we came the farthest of anyone. Quick little 9-hour jaunt. We actually service kind of that whole area where you see circled there. We have 19 schools that we work with in our dual enrollment early middle college with, you can see varying amounts of students coming from the different schools. Now this school right here, obviously our outliers, we like to look at those. Calumet High School is one that we actually have a teacher on ground. And so that's, where some of that comes in. But it does vary. We also cross the border and go into Hurley, which is Wisconsin. We're right on the Wisconsin border. Now, the Hurley school will not pay for the students to come to our college, but they are close. And so instead of sending them to a different Wisconsin school that's an hour away, they chose us. So it's important for us to foster that relationship. Looking at this is our last 5 years of data for our early college and dual enrollment. As you can see, we have nearly doubled in size from 2019 at 22% to now at 45% this year. That is not a final number. It kind of goes up and down as, students decide, oh my gosh, this is not for me. But, as you can see, that is a huge change. So we're really proud of that, but we also know how important that is and how it could quickly go the other way as well. So I'm actually going to turn it over to John, who's going to talk about our stakeholder benefits.
Super random. What is your?
Our mascot is the Samson. He's a snow beast.
Okay.
So yes, we get lots of snow, so that's the Samson.
No snow yet, right? Yeah. All right, thanks, Carrie. So yeah, my name is John Thiel. I'm the Dean of Arts and Sciences at Kirtland Community College up in Grayling, so not quite as far to travel as Carrie did. And the portion I want to talk about with dual enrollment is some of the, and I might be preaching to the choir on this, but the benefits to a lot of the different stakeholder groups about stronger dual enrollment partnerships and arrangements. We thought we'd break it down into 3 different categories, although there's a lot of cross-pollination between these groupings. And again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, so I can kind of be quick on some of these issues, but one of the things we think about with dual enrollment, and we've heard about this a lot lately, is sometimes it seems like when you build these partnerships with dual enrollment in early middle college, you tend to mainly be getting the students who are probably already college bound. And so even if we just single that group out, dual enrollment courses can give them early exposure to college rigor and let them know, you will be able to succeed when you get to college. But what I want to see is stronger partnerships and emphasis on some students who might be on the fence, might not be thinking about going to college, and this can show them that, yes, you can do this. I hate to use this phrase, it's been cliche, but yes, you are college material. And obviously, it's going to increase chances for earning a degree after graduation if you're able to get a lot of credits done while you're still in high school, especially if you set up a partnership in an intentional way that you can actually see a lot of high school graduates finishing the entire Michigan Transfer Agreement and then some before they get their high school diploma. Some of the schools that I work most closely with in the Grayling and the Kirtland area, you can do that. The students can get 30 credits before they graduate. And also, to me, one of the great benefits of dual enrollment is a lot of these high school students may not have any idea what their post-graduation goals are, and you can take college course X through dual enrollment and be exposed to a subject and to maybe a career field that you never even knew existed. And we see this happen a lot, especially in our partnerships with our local CTE site through the ISD, a lot of trades programs that they take through dual enrollment EMC that they had never known they had an inkling in that field. Obviously, when you talk about dual enrollment benefits, we want to look at our institutions. And, I know it's not all about numbers, but a lot of it comes down to enrollment, tuition hours. We can bring in more students, more headcount. And especially those of you on that early survey that were 30% or more percentage of dual enrollment, this is obviously a major source of enrollment and headcount. And obviously, the other main issue that you all cited on that survey early was K-12 buy-in through dual enrollment. And I know that, anyone, let me just check, how many people in this room are pretty active in setting up and maintaining dual enrollment partnerships with local K-12s? A few of you. Something that I run into a lot is, this pushback of, well, we want our students to take AP instead of dual enrollment classes. That's something we run into a lot. To me, the last 2 bullet points up here go hand in hand. If you can develop stronger dual enrollment partnerships, this is a PR benefit. Within the high schools, if you have administrators who might be skeptical about dual enrollment, they might be on the AP side of the fence, you can show them that you can develop these partnerships and have rigorous college classes for those students. But also, we all know that the skepticism of the value of higher ed is on the rise. And if you can reach the high schools, you can reach those students, that ripples out to their parents, to their families, and every little bit helps. You can chisel away at that skepticism, which goes out into the community too. I mentioned CTE partnerships. You're helping to develop a workforce at the end of the day. And if you can show the community that you are training students. I hesitate to just use the word training over education, but a lot of what we do is training. That can be a benefit. There's a big question mark hanging out there about the impact of the community college guarantee on dual enrollment. I know I've already heard from some superintendents who are asking me, why should we use funding on dual enrollment if it's going to be free? I'll be honest, the report that just came out, I have not been able to digest it as much as I would have liked. I'm sorry, Brandy, I haven't seen it. But there's a benefit. Let's say you have a student, we run into this all the time when we get this question at Kirtland. The stereotype, these dual enrollment students, they were never going to come to us after graduation. I'm not that skeptical. But let's just say for the sake of argument that you do have a population of high school students who are not planning to enroll at your institution after graduation. You can catch them while they're in that high school. Get some, I hate to say it, but get some head count enrollment out of them, but also show them the value of education from your institution and help their parents save on tuition if they are planning to go directly to a four-year high school graduation. And just to put some data on this, and I'm thinking now as I put this together, if you're in the back of the room, I apologize. I'm standing right here and I can barely read some of this. It's very small fonts, very small. We should have given, well, you have phones, you could zoom in, I guess. Bottom line, I won't read all of these numbers. The benefits of dual enrollment experience for college completion, for bachelor's completion, for college enrollment after graduation are fantastic. In every metric that's up here, students who have dual enrollment or early middle college experience are more likely to succeed after graduation. And so to me, that's a major selling point of developing stronger partnerships. But just to put the microscope on my own institution briefly, going back to something Carrie said at the start, we all know that the percentage of high school graduates who are enrolling in any college within 6 months of graduation has been in decline. I just wanted to put the microscope on the 4 most connected high schools in Kirtland's region. As just a side note, I will also mention, these are the 4 largest in terms of population. One of them, I won't name which one, I'm not here to shame anyone. One of these districts is one of those schools who places such a high emphasis on AP that they are actually telling their students and their parents that they are not allowed to take dual enrollment courses. So that's been fun. But I also want to point out 2 of these schools, you'll see they're below the state averages. They're below 50% in post-high school college attendance. And actually the first and the 4th one on this list are where we have some of our strongest partnerships. Houghton Lake High School, we have several of our faculty teaching on-site dual enrollment courses. It's not necessarily translating, and maybe I think there's more work to do. It's not necessarily translating into post-high school college enrollment. I taught a class at Houghton Lake High School just last fall in all my free time. There were talented students there. Some of them had no intention of attending a college after graduation. And yet, the last thing I'll say is, at Kirtland, we're a small institution. Even with the spike in enrollment that we're all seeing this year, our head count is just under 1,700 this fall. Our dual enrollment numbers have been climbing year to year for the last decade and a half, with few exceptions, 20 to 21. I just want to point one thing out on this graph, and then I'll pass on to John. You'll notice there's no blue bar here yet for fall of 2024, even though we're a month into the fall semester. Talking about the need to develop more partnerships. Our local ISD's CTE Center, which partners with us, and we count them in our head count, even though we only charge a transcripting fee, not full tuition, as of last week has yet to send us their full numbers for the fall. So we don't actually know where this blue bar is going to be just yet, a month into the semester. So to me, that shows the need for stronger partnerships in these areas. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic on to John.
Well, now you're gonna get the real John with no H. I'm John Poco. I actually am the Vice President of Business and Finance, which I just took over on Monday, actually. So, at Delta County. Yeah, so we're gonna look at goals for improvement. So Delta has had a huge increase in our dual enrollment. We have been, our president, Dr. Gavin, who you guys all met today, or seen speak of, has been pushing our institution to drive into our high schoolers hard, drive into our local counties, and then even outside of our counties. With that comes some areas of improvement that we found out as we have done this and where we've seen where we need to go. So increase in numbers in dual enrollment, early middle college agreements, and local schools. So uniformity in contracts. So what we're finding out is each K-12 wants different in their contracts. Each middle college wants something different. And it's very hard to try to get it all uniform and try to make sure that each school is the same and we're giving them the same resources, but also making it fair across all counties and all areas. So it's really putting a lot of pressure on our admissions area where they're trying to streamline that contract process to making sure that we can provide them. So areas where you can look at to improve is probably in one of those areas. So improvements in readiness through exposure to dual enrollment courses, summer bridge programs, etc. So removing those payment barriers. So what we're finding out too is when let's say a student in your K-12 fails that class. Well, now that K-12 is making them pay for that class. So students are hesitant to take classes because they don't want to fail. And if they do fail or drop out, something happens, family, outside barriers, that becomes a problem. So we really want to make sure that funding model, and I know it's been brought up, I know there's some legislative, I know it's in the MCCA article, there's talks about a different funding model, so maybe the K-12s can look at different ways to do that. So we're hoping that shed some light on it. Increased faculty accommodation, number of students enrolling in dual enrollment early college program. So core classes. So what we're looking at is trying to make sure that a lot of the K-12s, our early middle colleges, trying to get that core schedule, trying to understand what that schedule is, so then we can get our faculty, adjuncts, and everyone else in line to that and make sure that we can give them what they need. So we have 3 different buildings. We have a Midland Center, Saginaw Center in our main campus. And we're trying to make sure that those K-12s, if they're in Saginaw, they're going to go to that Saginaw Center to utilize it. And making sure that our schedules and our faculty can maintain that. And then obviously, if we don't, we're filling sections up. What do we got to do? We got to hire. And then trying to hire adjuncts or faculty is always a tough job, especially right now for us. We're really struggling trying to get adjuncts into our staffing model. And I mentioned staffing challenges. Sometimes we do get a little pushback every now and then from faculty and adjuncts saying they don't want to teach in this area, don't want to teach this section because it is dual enrollment. And they don't see the bigger picture in it sometimes. They want to teach that higher end courses and making sure that we really have those conversations with them. So just a little bit of data on Delta. This is from 2023. We're at 1740. That number is going up to about 1850 for this 2024. That's an average right now. I don't have the exact data on it, but again, you can see our trend. Dr. Gavin has came on, I believe it was 2021. So yeah, he obviously you can see how that's been really driving into our dual enrollment. We have 58 partners, 11 middle colleges, early middle colleges. We got 433 students. So our average GPA, as you can see, is at the 3.3 level, which is great. And our fall winter retention is also at a solid number. Majority of our people are in our 3 surrounding counties, so Bay County, Midland, and Saginaw, but we do go outside. And again, we have different models. So Dr. Curry was pushing, we got to get out to where the students are at. We have been doing that a little bit more. So we just are going to open up a class in Tuscola ISD, which is going to be huge for us. We push out into a Midland County school as in Freeland. But again, each K-12 section has a different model. So it brings on different problems for us and trying to make sure that we're giving adequate resources to everyone. Here's just a list of some of our secondary partners. We have opened up a new, as you see, Bay City Central High School, early middle college high. So that's going to be a new cohort for us. So that's going to be more students coming on, and they're really trying to push that. And then obviously our Bay Area ISD Edge early middle college. So right now I only had 11 students as of 2022-23. I think that's doubled in size, and I have to question the numbers, but I know it's been growing in popularity. Like they have been pushing that heavily across their end. And now I'm going to pass it on to LaToya.
Good afternoon. So I'm LaToya Mason. I am the Dean of Health Sciences from Lake Michigan College. And from that slide on information that you all did previously, we had about 2 challenges that you all perceived as, more important. And that was K-12 buy-in, and then also the understanding of policies. So that leads right into the potential challenges, because we all know that as institutions, we may be in different places when it comes to building those relationships with our K-12 partners. So the four main areas that we thought were the most important were, resistance, public perception, shortage, and then funding. And you've heard that funding come up like 3 times now. So when it comes to resistance, maybe there's, as John talked about earlier, you may have, K-12 partners who prefer those AP classes over dual enrollment. There's also teaching load. So you have instructors that may go into overload for teaching, dual enrollment classes as well. And then there's just overall communication, between institutions and K-12 partners. I know when LMC first started, especially with our direct credit, and establishing those relationships with high schools, we didn't think about timing to have those conversations. So we were asking high school instructors to come in during the day. Well, a lot of them were in class and it just didn't work out. So we had to come back and regroup and think about a different way to communicate with them. When it comes to public perception, of higher education, as you heard previously, we still have to address that stigma on the value of education. And then it's going to come up over and over again about cost of education. Shortage of faculty to teach, dual enrollment courses. I don't think, that will go away, and the reliance on, trying to fill those gaps with our adjunct instructors as well. And then funding, like I said, has been a common thing. So just, to add to, data that you've seen from our other institutions and how we can be similar in a lot of ways when it comes to having 2 of our bigger high schools have the largest population, but still, you see a difference between those, 2 high schools as well. You may not be able to see it from the back, but even with St. Joe High School, they have a lot of direct credit, okay, which accounts for a lot of that. Yeah.
Double click that.
Yeah, and then this just shows a common trend, with our my fellow institutions as well, on how we started, and then we get a little flat, with our numbers, and then 23, 24, we spiked up again. So next we'll have Ventrell is up talking about, recommendations.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ventrell here. I'm the Director of Compliance at Lansing Community College. All right. So at LCC, we actually did not have an institutionalized approach to actually partner with the high schools within the 6 counties that are within our district. We also did not have a true strategic plan or a process to actually maintain or even develop partnerships with those high schools. So all of that changed when we decided to incorporate dual enrollment into our strategic plan for 2021 to 2024. So this data here is regarding our dual enrollment headcount. This information is actually from our Center of Data Science. So as you can see, 2019 to 2020 enrollment was over 6,000. We had dual enrollment about 2,202. And note this is also where we had our largest participation in dual enrollment. And then from 2020 to 2022, as you can see, enrollment decreased like most of our colleges and universities. And then our dual enrollment participation also decreased. It's important to note in 2021 through 2022, this is when our strategic plan kicked in. This was also, this year also marked when we have the lowest participation. And then 2022 through 2024, that's where you can see we are trending upward in regards to enrollment as well as with participation. This slide here is just talking more about the percentage of dual enrollment at our college. So as you can see from the previous slide as well, although our enrollment has declined over the past 5 years, our percentage for dual enrollment has been pretty resilient. In regards to me, we're actually just really tracking at a 13% in regards to dual enrollment. And of course, we hope all of this is going to continue to increase since we do have a plan now and that has now been institutionalized at our college through our strategic plan. So of course, we want to know some recommendations, of course, and some takeaways in regards to how to increase dual enrollment and how we can help partner those students transitioning from high school and going into college. Increasing awareness is going to be key, of course. You have to promote dual enrollment. That's going to be very important. We need to make sure that we're especially providing awareness and information to those marginalized populations. Additionally, we're going to have to strengthen partnerships. We talked about a lot of that, making sure you're having those, you have great communication with those counselors, your admission advisors, they have great communication. And we can't forget the communication that we need to provide for our students and their parents as well. Probably the most important thing, I think, is providing support systems. We know for our traditional students, if there's a barrier, most people will just stop. They're not going to find a way around. So for our dual enrolled students, we have to be that bridge. Transportation, if we're able to provide vouchers for the bus, if we're able to provide technology that's necessary, are we providing laptops? Are we providing Chromebooks? We know there's a difference. We need to have the right stuff. Food insecurities, are we able to provide meals or snacks for them? Mental health, of course, is going to be very imperative if we have counselors that are available. If we have tutors, mentors, of course. For the academic piece, if we have those catch-up programs, writing centers, all of those things are important. Orientation is important to lay the foundation so everybody knows what's required. One of the things that I think we truly always forget is the customer service piece, and Dr. Curry kind of mentioned it today when he talked about having the policies and systems and what was the last one? The structure. So looking at those things, all of your forms and documents, the application you have, does it make sense? Is a student and a parent able to go through it? If not, do we need to go back and look at that application and restructure it? The other part with the customer service, do we have the right people there that are providing guidance to our students? We need to have those people that have the critical skills and are problem solvers. If there's a problem, we want students that are, we want employees, I should say, that are trained and have the ability to work through problems and not cause additional problems. Other thing, of course, is monitoring outcomes and measuring your successes. So at OCC, one of our metrics that we're looking at is increasing, like I said, partnerships. So we want to get to 100% partnerships with all of the different high schools in our area. But we also need to be able to meet the students where they are, meaning looking at the courses they're taking. Are they passing these classes? Do we need to go back to the curriculum and make changes? Are students doing better in those online classes? Or are they doing better with the face-to-face? We need to look at all those things. Talk to your data folks. You need to have the data and you need to be able to pivot if things aren't working to make adjustments. This here is just a reference and information for you all to have first. And this, of course, is our contact information. So I'll just close in saying that we just need to make sure that we are truly providing an environment that is going to be inclusive and support all of our students. We want to make sure that they definitely have the opportunities that all of our community colleges have to offer, especially when it comes to dual enrollment. We'll stop and we'll take time for questions if you guys have any for the group. Thank you.
So I have a question about I've been a K-12 administrator before, now looking at wondering about, I guess, perceived conflict with advanced placement. It may be often that the community colleges offer courses that aren't available in advanced placement. Now I'm wondering if that angle has ever been explored by folks who have seen that conflict.
All right, well, that was the high school I mentioned that will remain nameless. That was exactly the issue that was brought up. Their argument was, well, we have all of these subjects in AP. Why would we need your dual enrollment? And again, I hate to speak great person, but said to me, I would rather have a student take an AP class and get a 2 on the exam. They're still more prepared for college than if they took a dual enrollment class. Is the version I got. So that's been a struggle. I think it's just a perception issue. I think it comes back to the skepticism, not necessarily about the value of higher ed, but about community colleges. Our last full session with the Leadership Academy was yesterday. And one thing that was brought up over and over was this perception of community colleges as just sort of high school 2.0. We want to combat that. But I think in terms of AP, it is a bit of a struggle because I think, and I kind of mentioned this before, a lot of the students that tend to take dual enrollment classes, even if we'd like to cast a wider net, are the students who are likely already college bound, to use a bit of an archaic term. And so they might see themselves as, well, I'm going to college, I'm going to take this prestigious AP course. And I think, so the struggle is less about convincing an administrator and more convincing the students themselves and the families to see community colleges on an equal footing with that. And it's been of an uphill battle.
Yeah, so let me, like, if you've got multivariate calculus in your school,
Yeah.
then there's no AP option.
Right.
So I'm wondering, like, what are they doing for that kind of an option, or if they want a specific kind of science course that's.
That is, okay, I misinterpreted your question. That's actually something I can let anyone else speak about too, but it's something that I'm trying to work on with some of my local K-12 administrators, because there are upper level courses that they can't offer.
Right.
At the same time, there's upper level courses that we've been struggling to run as well because of numbers in those upper level courses. We have a proposal on the table. I just met with 10 principals Tuesday morning about creating some sort of synchronous hybrid combined course for, like, upper level, like multivariable calculus was actually the option that we were discussing. 2 students from this school, 3 students from this school, et cetera, creating these technology spaces where they could live Zoom in, not necessarily Zoom, but for lack of a better word, with our faculty who are also going to rotate physically present in each high school week to week to try to draw that in. It's a work in progress, but right now that's what we're trying to do for those things. And again, they can't offer that in AP either. So we're trying to convince these administrators, I think we're making some inroads, that this is a niche that we can fill that AP can't. Yeah.
Yeah, this question is, I believe for John.
Which one? The academic or the business one?
The good one.
Hey,
I'm kind of missed because I'm sitting back all the way back here.
Yeah.
But, with Saginaw Public Schools, how's it going with them as far as dual enrollment? I don't know if it was on the slide, but I was just curious to see how things are going with Saginaw Public Schools.
I know from what I've seen from my end, the Saginaw Public Schools, I know we have partnered with them exactly right at our Saginaw Center. And it's been going smooth, like, for the most part. I know they have certain criteria that those students have to come and take those courses at the Saginaw Center. I can't elaborate. I don't know all the details of it, but I know we had a rough patch. I feel like we smoothed that patch, and I think we're getting on the right terms with them, because they wanted a whole bunch of different variables of where we couldn't offer it at the Saginaw Center, but now we're getting more classes that are more of the items that they would, or more classes that they want to take. I would have to probably refer to Dr. Gavin on the rest of it, because he knows more of that partnership than I do.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking at. I didn't see
Yep.
it there, so.
And we just started that 2 years ago now, so.
Notice a difference in your numbers around the more robust, Michigan virtual options through the high school? Or no, that's where my kids' school district is more promoting kids, to be involved in the Michigan virtual, so they're hopping onto their computers in the library.
Yeah.
And doing this where they have multiple teachers, this online learning.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag with some of our high schools, because again, with the high schools that we are strongly connected with, we're connected well enough that the students who are taking virtual classes are mostly taking them through us. They still have a setup where they're in, a space at the school with a teacher monitoring students taking, 7 different online courses all at once. But I can tell you, from my own experience using the high school that my sons went to, our youngest just graduated in May. There's a mix. So they took a lot of courses with us, but also some Michigan virtual, because it was things that we just couldn't offer. I know my son needed one more math class, and he was tired of taking algebra and statistics and all that. So he took a mathematics of baseball course through Michigan virtual, which I was kind of jealous of, and we can't offer that. So to me, it's all about giving students options. And so I'm not necessarily saying we have to corner the market on it. So it's kind of been a mixed bag in my experience here.
I'll speak to that as well. I know that recently we just wrote a grant in our college that we are implementing Zoom rooms within our high schools so that we can kind of have some more of that personal touch. And so that really has been going a long way. So yeah, we really have embraced our relationships up by us, because we're rural, we're small, is really important to us. And so, that's kind of one of those ways that we've combated that.
That looks like it's a Zoom room being.
So basically what it does is it makes you feel like you're in a classroom without being in a classroom. So there's cameras kind of, multiple cameras throughout. There's really good sound, in some of the rooms. And in an area like ours is, we don't have a lot of technology. So we're kind of playing catch up. A lot of you probably already have it, but there's cameras all over, there's screens all over. And so they try to really integrate that. What
Students are not there.
they're not. They're in a room together though, within that school. So, there's 3 different schools maybe in one class. And so there's one school here, but they're all zooming in, but they're all feel like they're in that classroom together. And an instructor is instructing at the same time too. So there's a whiteboard that's virtual, that's, in real time and not just a video.
One more question. I'm looking at the time. I want to be mindful of the other group that still has to present here. So if there, we'll take one more question. If there are any others for either group at the end, we can do that as well. But
Two-part, what strategies are you using to increase awareness to marginalized communities? And then 2, what ways are you building community amongst the people in those?
I think that's a really good question, because I think even we noticed at Lake Michigan College that in our South Haven campuses, there were some missed opportunities there with reaching out to marginalized communities. And being Lake Michigan College is in Benton Harbor, right? So one of the things that even I noticed is that we just weren't getting a lot of students from Benton Harbor High School. But when we have and establish those relationships, I think the one thing and where we lose ground a little bit once we've established those relationships and offered, students to come to campus, got them into, some of our dual enrolled courses, was there's a change in administration. And when you have a change in administration in a high school, you lose all that work that you've done. So then you have to establish those new relationships and move forward.
thank you.